2015 to June 2019. He is currently into legal practice and doubles as the Executive Director, Public Education Works Initiative, a non-governmental organization involved in the provision of consultancy, coaching, mentoring, capacity building, development in leadership, management, civic and law-related education. We can see from the profile that our resource person is somebody that has skills and extensive experience. So what he's sharing with us today is actually from years of experience and practice. Please, I urge all of us to welcome him and also appeal to us to pay particular attention to what he's going to share. On that note, I welcome our lecturer for today, Honorable Nimi Walsinjak. Please, a round of applause for him, even if we might not hear you. You are welcome, sir. You have the
Thank
floor.
you very much, my man. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me? Indicate by a show of hand if you can hear me. All right. Thank you. Just a moment. All right, thank you. Well, I welcome you to the new normal, the online class. Your own set is special. We pray that in addition to taking the online class, you may also have to graduate online unless the situation improves. I was with the leadership class last year, 2019, and also at the graduation. But it's due to the pandemic, we're all aware. That's why we're here today. So I'm delivering the lecture in chapter 11 of your course handbook, which is what does it take to be a CEO? So those are pages 105 to 107. So my first question before we even start talking is, can I see by a show of hand how many of us read pages 105 to 107 of the handbook before this lecture?
They don't have.
They don't have it?
They don't have this handbook. Center LSD has not sent the handbook.
Oh, okay, okay. All right. It's all right, I understand. Okay. But in preparing the lecture, what I've done is use the expectations from the course handbook, read up the references like Joe Owen, one of the names you will get familiar with, and others in the field of leadership and management. And then I will apply these to my work in the field of civic education and my experience in public service to give you a brief picture of what it takes to be a CEO. So the first question is, what does CEO stand for? And CEO is the Chief Executive Officer of the organization. We should be having our this thing now. Go ahead. CEO is the Chief Executive Officer of the organization. Now, in some organizations, that is the name by which the highest ranking officer is called. In other organizations, they don't use it. They use that name. It all depends on the size of the organization. But whether the person is called a CEO or not, the functions almost always are the same. And this is, a CEO is different from a COO, a Chief Operating Officer. Usually Chief Operating Officers are below the CEOs. And then you also have in other organizations, the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer. So what are the qualities of a CEO? Because as leadership students and potential graduates, you must know what you are aspiring for. Most CEOs are vision-driven. They have a vision. They are focused and they are ambitious. They rally other people to their vision. No one person can bring about a vision and achieve a mission. So you need other people to work with you. So CEOs rally people to their vision. They are able to develop strategic plans for development, strategic plans for profit making, strategic plan for expansion. The CEOs make important decisions, and these decisions usually are between the devil and the deep blue sea. They are hard choices. Majority of the CEOs are excellent communicators and negotiators. Yeah, fast. One step back. Just a moment. Yes. And CEOs generally inspire respect and confidence. When people see them, they have respect for them. Even within Nigeria, the organizations, when you hear of the CEOs there, you want to meet them, you want to interact with them. Despite the amount of work they have to do, most CEOs are always calm under pressure. So generally then, what do CEOs do? I'll just give you a brief rundown. The responsibilities. I say they make the important decisions with or without a board of directors, with or without management. The buck stops on the table of the CEO. The CEO will lead the development and execution of long-term strategies with the goal of increasing shareholder value. No matter how important a CEO is, if you don't bring profit to the company, the shareholders have no use for you. And as I said, they create the organization's vision and mission. Sometimes when you come on board, the vision and mission has already been created by previous administrations. So your business is to bring about the fulfillment of the vision. CEOs are forward-looking. They must take the companies to the next heights. They always look to the future. They are the ones evaluating the work of the other executive leaders. They are the directors, executive directors, non-executive directors, all manner of managers, deputy managers, and what have you in a company. It is the work of the CEO to evaluate their work and ensure that everybody is in tandem with the expectations. They are always aware of what the market they are operating in looks like, because again, they have to remain in business. No CEO wants a company to die in his or her hands. They maintain high social responsibility. They assess the risks the company goes through. They are able to communicate on behalf of the company with the shareholders, with government entities, and with the public. And they report directly or they're accountable to a board of directors for the performance of the company. All CEOs sit on the board of directors. Some CEOs are the chairpersons of the board, but not all CEOs are chairpersons. So what do CEOs need to get the job done? Three things. They must have knowledge. What do you know? Information is power. So do you have the knowledge that people can come to you because of that knowledge? Skills, what are you good at? Those are the things you can do that others cannot do. If others can do them, you can do them better. And then you must have networks and contacts. Okay, this is about who you know and the relationship you build. So knowing people, making contacts is an important aspect of getting to be a CEO and getting the job done. Now, what has happened in recent times, therefore, going forward, is that these three qualities have acquired new names. So today we talk about intelligence quotient, we talk about emotional quotient, and we talk about political quotient. Okay, the intelligence quotient is more of the knowledge and the skill you need to get the job done. Get back to this thing. Yeah, I've not finished. Sorry for the interruption. Political quotient is a emotional quotient is more of your principles, your values, your attitude, your disposition. And then political quotient is how you use the political capital or the social capital that you make of everything that you know in order to get the job done. So when you hear people say, and I hope you are not one of those who say, leave politics to the politicians. My message to you today is that politics is part of the business of a CEO. As distinct from partisan politics, business has its own politics. Next slide. All right. So when we talk about intelligence quotient, the intelligence quotient has become an issue because we have moved from the 19th century when the workers were literally unskilled, uneducated. The managers were more educated than the workers. And so the workers just did anything that the managers told them to do. Now, we made progress, and eventually with the coming of education, the workforce has become as educated as the management force. It then means, therefore, that modern day managers and leaders must have something more than just knowledge. Because if it is just knowledge, every worker has knowledge, and mobility of labor means that workers can move around. So now the managers are therefore required to have something more in addition to their normal intelligence. So the intelligence quotient this time requires a whole new skill set. Knowledge will now have to go with motivation, performance management, how well you're doing, coaching on the job, conflict management and resolution skills, analytical capabilities, business judgment, and insights. So essentially, intelligence quotient is a combination of knowledge and skill. So a CEO must have a combination of some knowledge and some skills. And that is still not enough. Now you need what is known as emotional quotient, which is more like emotional intelligence, okay? And it's all about, emotional intelligence is more about how do you feel? How do you feel about others? What do you do to motivate both yourself and to motivate others? Okay, if your staff comes to work and tells you that my daughter is sick, if it was in 1960, you could afford to tell the worker that that is not your business. And if you don't want to work, go home. But in the modern times, you have to empathize with that worker to find out how that child is faring, whether he wants to take a break or close early or go to the hospital. If you don't do those things, you find that that worker is not going to concentrate on the job and may make a mistake that will eventually cost the company so much. So in emotional intelligence or emotional quotients, we are looking at self-awareness, feelings, the use of, using those preferences, to guide our decision, to make an assessment of our ability and the ability of others, and the self-confidence. If you yourself, as the leader, you are confident, then of course, as we said, the workforce will buy into yours. The second thing that it involves, we said there are 5 social competencies, is self-regulation, okay? Then you have the motivation, you have empathy, and then you also have social skills. Now, so the emotional intelligence is essentially a function of disposition, attitude, principles, values, commitments, and beliefs. So the question then is, what then remains? What is political quotient? Now, political quotient just simply means the political act of influencing and persuading, building alliances, finding sponsors and power brokers, knowing which battles and wars to fight and when to fight them, finding your claim to fame and staking your claims. That is really what it is. So you see here now, it is what you and I in the village, we will say this is village intelligence or street sense. So in the boardroom, this is real business sense, political sense, social sense. And you are going to see how it works. If people are working for you, you must have their trust. You must have their loyalty. You must be able to influence them. In your organization, there will be people for you and people against you. It doesn't matter whether you are the boss or not. You should be able to build an alliance of those who are for you, those who share your values, those who share your principles, those who agree with you that this vision is achievable, okay? You must be able to influence your workforce. You must be able to influence your shareholders. You must be able to influence and persuade your board of directors. You need to learn to build alliances. Alliances are built on negotiations and compromises. You need to be able to find sponsors for the things you want to do. You want a broadcast license. Your company wants a broadcast license. You may not have all the money, but you should be able to find the bankers to back you. And finding the bankers depends on a lot of these things that I'm presenting to you now. You should know which battle to fight and when to fight. Sometimes the state where you're operating, the governor is overbearing, and they do things that ordinarily you will say, no, we can't take it anymore. You have to know whether you can tolerate it, or you can close down the company and relocate, or you can find people who know the governor to talk to the governor. Okay? Next slide. So the question then is, how do we acquire these 3 essentials? How do we acquire the quotients that we have just discussed? Okay? The intelligence, the emotion, and the political. How do we get them? The first one is you get an education. Primary school, secondary school, and university. You get an education. Now, when you go to school, going to school alone doesn't give you all the qualities you need to have as a citizen. When I say citizen here, as an active member of society, as somebody who lives in a society. So that you study mathematics does not mean that you come out to be a good citizen. There are courses, civic education, social studies, history, geography, and some others that teach you things that are important to ensure that you can live in a society. So it is in civic education, civics, democracy education, by whatever name called, that you acquire some of the knowledge that you need to function in this society. So you get to learn about rights of citizens and how they can be exercised. You will learn about expression, inquiry and debate, access to information, their freedom to criticize government policies and decisions, your freedom to associate with others, assemble and petition, to monitor public policy, what government is doing and the actions of government, to influence what government is doing and the activities of government, to choose and to remove officials, to apply constitutional values and fundamental principles of democracy. Now, the next is you will also learn about the fulfilling of responsibilities by citizens. What is it that as citizens we're able to do? I've listed some of them here for you. Every citizen should be able to know that this is the knowledge. You should know that these are things that you should know in a society. Next slide. Then we must learn, of course, about our government and the responsibilities of our government. Next. Then we must learn about the purpose of the government. Why does the government exist? To protect our rights and to promote the common good. Very, very clear. We must learn about the organization and the process of government. The three arms, we're all very familiar. How is government organized? Okay, what are the processes that are used? If I have a disagreement with the government agency, what does the law say should be done about the resolution of the conflict? What is the procedure? Is that procedure fair? Next slide. Then we must learn the role of civil society. Civil society is that the rest of the society outside of the government. Okay, that is why the NGOs are called civil society organizations or non-governmental organizations. We are the real society. If you don't belong to civil society, then you belong to government. Now, civil society is an important, without civil society, there's no society. The business we are talking about is in civil society. You are going to be a CEO in civil society. So we need to know things about how we can relate with each other, what are our common interests, what is it that government can do that will interfere with our freedom, and also how do we maintain a limited government to keep the government off our backs so that the government doesn't really tell us what to do every morning. Next. Now, that is the knowledge part. That is the knowledge part. So these are things you learn in school. We're in education. You are acquiring education for work. Now, the next thing, knowledge and these civic skills are divided into two, intellectual and participatory. Now, the intellectual skills are also further divided. Next slide. The intellectual skills are essential for informed, effective, and responsible citizenship. For you to exist, function, enjoy this society we live in, and be a good CEO, you must have intellectual skills, otherwise called critical thinking skills. It is under critical thinking skills that you learn to identify and describe things. You learn to explain and analyze things, and you learn to evaluate, take a position, and defend a position on issues. Now, knowledge is one thing. Now we are on skills. You are learning to do. You remember I told you at the beginning, they must know, they must be able to do something that others can't do or do better at what others are doing. So having intellectual skills is critical to being first a citizen, then a CEO. Next slide. The next one is what we call the participatory skills. These are skills that you need for your informed, effective, and reasonable participation in the political process and in our civil society. So with these skills, you can participate in government and you can still participate in business in civil society. They are further categorized. Top of the agenda is interacting skills. And under interacting skills, communication stands out. You must learn to listen. we teach people to listen. I'm sure in your communities and around you, you will have examples of people who don't know how to listen. You think they're listening, but when they try to repeat what you said, you just find out that they didn't hear the right thing. You say, oh, he didn't hear well. He didn't hear well because he wasn't listening. You as a citizen must learn to ask questions. You must learn to ask the right questions at the right time. And if you are to give an answer, you must also learn how to answer questions properly. Now, as leadership trainees, I can tell you, when next you watch the television in Nigeria, you will find that 99% of our interviewers on national television don't know how to ask questions. They assume that the person they are questioning doesn't know anything. And they ask the question, include the answer, and ask the person, what do you think? All right. As leaders, you have to know how to ask questions. You must know how to hold discussion, conduct a dialogue, have a conversation with civility. Many Nigerians don't know how to have a conversation. What I say is final, that is correct. If you don't agree, we quarrel, you're not my friend. I shout on you. That is not conversation, that's not a dialogue. You are commanding people. And a democracy is a discussion. So we teach how you should have a conversation. That is a skill you will need when you go to board meetings, when you go to committee meetings, when you go to persuade people to do things for you. You will need to have a civilized conversation. Otherwise, nobody's going to talk to you as a CEO. Then we also have, under interacting skills, how you build coalitions. You have to learn how to convince people to your side and hold them together in an alliance, okay? Then you also have to learn to manage conflicts in a fair and peaceful manner through mediation, compromise, and consensus building. You can't be right all the time. Sometimes you are wrong. Sometimes you are right, but if you shift just a ground for the next person, both of you will go home with a win-win situation. It's a compromise. A compromise is not a negative terminology. A compromise is a democratic terminology. Because even in the schools you attended in the university, you were not the first-class student. Even if you were a first-class student, you were not the only first-class student. So that means that there are still people who know as much as you do. And of course, there are hundreds who know more than you do. So you must learn how to relate with these people, agree and disagree respectfully, and yet everybody comes out victorious. Next. The next thing about participatory skills is, participatory skills, we need to have, excuse me. You need to learn how to monitor observation. And in addition to the observation, then of course you have other skills and knowledge that apply and constitute monitoring. So you track the handling of issues. Now, in tracking the handling of issues, this is the same skill you will use when you become a CEO. That's why I say quality CEOs need, because you are running a large organization of 500 people, 1,000 people. If you do not know how to track activities, events, production, and the rest of it, then very soon you will find that your company warehouse will be empty because nothing is being produced and you are not aware. You will also learn the skill of influencing, how to influence people. You can't force people to do things. You can only influence them. Your capacity to affect the process, both formally and informally, is what we call influence skill. It's a participatory skill. Excuse me. And that is what politicians use for elections. CEOs use them in various ways, whether to motivate workers, to get investors, to get people to serve on the board, to get the board to approve decisions. Okay? So influencing skills are important for you to influence policies and decisions by people who work with you. Clearly articulate your interests and make them known to key decision and policymakers. Under influencing, you're able to use research and the instruments for research. The analytical skill you acquired earlier on in intellectual skills comes in handy with identification. Your observation skills come in. And then the question is, how do you, these are theoretical, so how do you acquire the skills apart from knowing them? That is why in the universities, we have student union governments. We have professional associations, law students associations, medical students associations. In the real society, we are free to go to the House of Assembly and the local government council to observe their meetings and see what they are doing. If you don't like what is happening, we teach you to write petitions. So as a CEO, you must know how to write to support what you want. You must learn how to testify before public bodies. And you can join groups. There are many groups that are advocating for many things in any society, including your communities. And then of course you form coalitions. You alone you can't go it alone. So you can form coalitions. Now those are some of the skills some of the skills you need. And it is a combination of the knowledge and the skills that gives you the first set of intelligence quotients. Okay, that is what gives you that first set, a combination of knowledge and skill. Now, what gives you the emotional quotient, what prepares you as a CEO is your education in what we call traits of public and private character. In other words, there are certain ways we must behave. We must have certain acceptable attitude. We must have some values, real values in society in order for us to live comfortably in society. And these traits are called traits of public character, which refers to traits of public and private character. Okay, they are important in any society. The private character will deal with moral responsibility. You do things not because the law says you should do them, but because it is right, morally right, religiously right, culturally right to do them. You do things because you are disciplined, self-discipline. You have a right to 20 cups of gari, but if you take your 20 cups of gari, the other people in the queue will not have any. Self-discipline requires that you take 1 cup and allow the other 19 people to take a cup each. Respect for the human dignity of every individual. And that's why you see footballers every day when they play in the football matches, they wear the jerseys inscribed with the word respect. Respect is very, very important. If you respect yourself, others will respect you. If you respect yourself, you will respect other people. But a lot of us, again, if you look at our society, the question, do you know who I am, is common on a daily basis because we don't respect people. We jump the queues. We drive anyhow on the highway. Those are things that are not ideal for citizens. And so as CEOs, you learn from an early age how to have what we call the private character. Next. Do you hear me?
Yes, you are hearing you.
Thank you. All right. So traits of public character will include public spiritedness, what Christians will call love your neighbor, civility, respect for the rule of law, and critical mindedness, willingness to listen, negotiate, and compromise. I just take one of them to show you the importance. There has been a lockdown in Nigeria with boundary restrictions. I'm sure you know the class of people who have been traveling, even though the law says they should not travel. Now, that was disrespect for the rule of law, and it was coming from the most unexpected of sources. That is why we teach everybody, especially those who will turn out to be leaders in the industry and in government, that respect for rule of law is essential. Next slide. All right. So I just take, you just run through and you see you have to be an independent member of society. And so we teach you to adhere to self-imposed standards of behavior. You accept responsibilities for the consequences of your action. You don't blame people. CEOs don't blame people. If the workers get it wrong, the CEO is to blame, not the workers. Okay? You fulfill your moral obligations, your legal obligations to the society. These are some of the things you learn. Next slide. I've talked of respect. You learn to listen to the opinion of others. You have to behave in a civil manner. You have to consider the rights and interests of fellow citizens, and you have to adhere to the principles of majority rule. But you must recognize the right of the minorities to dissent. This is very important, particularly in a nation like Nigeria, where there are the big tribes and the small tribes. Okay? Then you learn to participate in civil affairs in a thoughtful and effective way. For example, before you vote or participate in a public debate, you must be prepared. You must come informed to ask the right questions. You don't just clap for somebody for speaking big English, and yet you go home without anything substantive, okay? Civil discourse. Recently, I wrote an article on civility. I don't know how many of you got that article. Civil discourse. You need to learn that others have an opinion. Others can take a stand on an issue. We must not all agree with you. That is the real world we live in. We should not all agree. Yes, CEOs don't blame people. That's correct. Now, you must assume leadership. Even before you become a CEO, we teach you to assume leadership when appropriate. So when we come into a class like this leadership class and something has to be done, okay, the class monitor or prefect is not around. We need somebody to get it done. Don't wait until we beg you to do it. You volunteer to do it. It's the small leadership role we're giving to you, which you are assuming, and you'll be surprised how much you can learn, how much experience you can learn from just volunteering for services, okay? You must learn at what point your personal interest must be subsumed for the overall interest. For example, in all these lockdowns we've been doing in Nigeria, there is no law that says you should lock down the country. There's no law. But we all agree to stay indoors because we know that if we don't stay indoors, perchance we are the sick people, we will infect others who will die. Or those who are sick will infect us and we will die. So for the common good, we stay at home. And there are so many such things that comes up in societies when we must subordinate our personal desires and interests for the common good, okay? Again, we need to evaluate whether and when our obligations or constitutional principles, clash and reject certain civic expectations. Now, the point here is this. Sometimes we have rights. Okay, we can insist on our rights. But if we insist on our rights, everything will go wrong. So you give up your rights. Voluntarily, nobody will force you. That is the mark of good citizenship. And you will find that playing out in companies. I have been, when I was in the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission, with Professor Nimi Briggs as chairman, we were entitled to certain allowances, but we didn't have enough money. And there and then, we were told and we were taught that in situations like that, when the establishment does not have enough money to pay, management forgoes its own rights and benefits, and the workers are paid. And that's exactly what we did. And that's how a society is run. That's how a company is run. Next slide. All right, so next slide. So the aim of all this sorry, where are you? Just a moment, please. No, next slide. All right. So I told you that you needed to get an education. And all I have addressed is primary, secondary, and undergraduate education. Now, so you can see that by the time you graduate from university, you have acquired so much knowledge, skills, and you should be behaving in a certain acceptable manner. Now, for you to be a chief executive officer, unless you're managing your own family business, in the competitive world, and it is for your own best interest to acquire a postgraduate degree, an MBA, or any other advanced degree, at that level, you have more in-depth knowledge and skills, okay? So you need to get to a business school. MBAs mostly are offered in business schools. Master of Business Administration is the qualification you get. Now, but for you to go to those schools, please, when you're studying the prospectus, make sure that you look at schools that teach and where you can learn, and they are good at rational skills, okay? They are better at 20th century skills and of managing people, because one thing is to know, the other thing is to work with people you have to manage. And then you must come up with 21st century challenges, skills that meet 21st century challenges. So if the degree is the type they awarded in 1957, it's obsolete right now. You must ensure that the business school you are going with has provision for practical training in organizational behavior and leadership. That is why it is difficult to do an MBA online. It is difficult to do an MBA online. You need to be in an environment where you are sent to companies and industries to understudy leadership. And your MBA institution must have opportunities for internship. And finally, you should ensure that that institution has an extensive alumni network, old boys and old girls network in the industry and across geographical area. So because for an MBA, you don't just need the paper, you need the skills also and the work experience. Next slide. Now, having graduated first degree, you have to get a job. Either you get employed or you start your own business and apply the same principles. But I take a scenario where you are employed, because there are still big companies that will be looking for people like you in another 20, 25 years to be the CEOs. So you start at a junior level almost always, and you learn as much as you can about the organization and the industry. Whichever industry you are, you learn. And here, let me also add, if you decide to work in the public service and be a teacher, for example, now learn about the teaching profession and be the best in the teaching profession. There is nothing like, I have no job, I'm just managing teaching in one school. That attitude, if you take it to a company, you think that you're going to NNPC. So right now you are in a small oil and gas company and you think you don't have a job. You are not likely to learn about them. You are not likely to put in your best in that organization. And the mistakes you make in the early years are the same that will haunt you as you go up to higher positions. So you need to look for opportunities for growth in the business in which you have been employed. You must understand how all parts of the company interact, okay? And it is in that understanding that you get to know that Non-spectral net. Yeah. Okay. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right.
I want to see what I can hear.
There was a switch over of the internet.
Yeah.
All right. So we're on gaining experience. While you are employed in a company, attend trainings. Very important. Training is not welfare. When they send you on training, it's not for you to have income or savings. Go there and learn what you are being sent to learn. Improve your communication and problem-solving skills. I've shown you what communication skills include. You must learn them, practice them, and be an expert in them. Develop a broad range of skills and expertise. That you're a lawyer means nothing. You must learn to do more, okay? You must learn to do more than you went to university to study. Now, also ensure that the company you are working, that you don't spend more than 2 or 3 years in any one position. Because in most companies, between 2 and 3 years, you should be promoted. If you are not being promoted, it means that you don't have a future in that company, or that company itself is not well managed. Look for challenges that will push you to your comfort zone and fill in the gaps in your skill set. Again, just like I talked about volunteering, in the company, you will find opportunities to show your leadership skill. Take them up. Don't wait for the work to be assigned. Request for the assignment and get the job done. The fourth thing you need to acquire to be a successful CEO is that thing we call political quotient. And it is here, I will explain it very well. It's what we call networking. All of us, we call it networking. The Igbos call it imamado. You either know somebody or you know somebody that knows somebody. Now, what is it? What does it really mean? It means you should build a network of contacts, both inside and outside the business. Very important. You can't be an island on your own. You must go beyond the superficial interaction. Hi, how are you? Good morning. You have to connect with people. Are you married? Your wife, what's her name? How many children do you have? What are their names? And the next time when you meet, you're asking him about how is your wife, Janet, and your children? What class is Tonya now? And IB? That is connecting with people, as different from good morning, how are you? I hope you are fine, and everybody goes home. If they ask you what is the person's surname, you don't know. All right? So build your base. Now, this is the politics. This is your interaction, this is your network. You have to build it incrementally, one person, one event at a time, because you need to pay attention to people. People like to know that you recognize them. People like to know that you know their name. You know their homes. You attend their events and their functions, okay? So focus on developing relationship with the customers of the company. One, with the suppliers, those who supply goods to raw materials and other services to the companies. The industry influencers, the people who are influential in the industry you are working in. The regulators, if you are an electricity distribution company, you work for an electricity distribution company, you must know the people who regulate the electricity distribution company, and they should know you. You must know other CEOs like yourself in other industries not related to you, in the country and outside the country. Of course, you must be very familiar, you must know members of your board and the chairman of the board, okay? Show interest in other people's development. In other words, you are in your own position. Now, you see somebody who is hardworking, maybe below you or even above you, and you know that there are opportunities for that person to improve or be developed. Nominate that person for that course. nominate that person for an award or recognition. Let them know that even though you are not in the same line, that you are looking out for them and you recognize them. Attend industries conferences, annual general meetings of that sector, of your profession. Enroll in executive education programs. These are many ways for you to build your own political base. You are not running for office. If you want me, I'll put it this way. You are running for the office of CEO. And your campaign for the office of CEO starts from the day you were employed in the company. So you need to build that political base. And that is what is called the political quotient, the political intelligence. The fifth thing you will do is to join a board of directors. Now, and when I deal with the board of directors, I'll then merge it with how it operates in real life. Many of us don't have the opportunity to serve in a committee or in a board of directors until it is very late in life. And then the fact that we didn't serve in the committees and in the boards is now used against us. So for all of you seated there, your starting point is go find an opportunity to serve as a board member in the board of trustees of an NGO or a civil society group. Okay? Now, if you do that, you are going to learn how boards work. How do they conduct board meetings? That's how you are going to learn them. You are going to learn about certain strategies, vision, mission, goals, objectives. Okay? Then you are going to acquire experience in overseeing the operations because you are involved. And of course, you are going to help that organization grow. When I was much younger in Port Harcourt and running the NGO, Center for Responsive Politics, I worked very closely. I wasn't a board member, but I was available to work with the women lawyers, FIDA, the International Federation of Women Lawyers. And I can tell you that just working with those, in fact, a lot of men used to make fun of me, the only male member of FIDA, and we joked about it. But the truth was that in working with FIDA, I learned a lot that I could not have learned if I was only in my own NGO, the Center for Responsive Politics. So when you make yourself available to serve in other groups, you learn, you acquire knowledge, you acquire skills, you learn to interact with people, you learn to do those things the organization is doing, and eventually, when it is your turn to be the boss in your organization, definitely you're going to do it better than anyone can think of, okay? And of course, when you are serving in this voluntary position in your own board of directors, you have an insight into the challenges CEOs face. Because one thing is the theory of lecture. The other one is the practice of being on the job. And that practice of being on the job, you can only get it by experience. And to bring it lower is even in our communities. If the community is setting up a committee to do something in the committee, volunteer, be a member, be a secretary, be a chairman, take up a position, an assignment. The experience you get there will be unrivaled. All right. Now, a combination of the connections and the joining of the board of directors, this is how it works. Most times when appointments are made, even when companies are considering appointing CEOs, looking at CVs may just be 10% or 20% because everybody they are considering is qualified. They now depend on who knows who. How much do you know of that man or that woman? And they are able to talk about you because they have met you in these circumstances we have discussed. They're able to talk about you because they know that the last place you worked, the company rose from a 30% profit margin to a 3,000% profit margin. So you are a performer. So they're able to, the new company is able to come to your present company and offer you the position of CEO of another company at a remuneration 3, 4, 5 times more than you are earning in your present job across the board. So whether within your company or with outside of the company, you'll find that somebody must speak for you. And the more people that speak for you, the better. And that is where the political quotient is very, very paramount. But the success of the political quotient is dependent on your knowledge, intelligence, and your emotions. I hope you see how they now fit. Then, of course, to be a successful CEO, you must step up out of the normal. Every organization, every company has challenges. Even in government, there are challenges. We are looking for problem solvers any day. Take ownership of high-profile initiatives and demonstrate that you can take personal responsibility for their success. Everybody's afraid to do it because they think they will fail. No, take it on. Use all the skills that we're talking about, which you will have practiced, and deliver results. When you do that, your own capital, political capital, your own performance capital goes up. Accelerate your career by embracing opportunities, even when you do not necessarily feel prepared for the challenges. Sometimes they nominate you for a position in the town union, in the cultural group, in the old student association. I've seen many people rise up and say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do that work. I'm busy, I'm raising a family. They give all manner of excuses. Rise up to the challenge. You'll be shocked, you will do it. I know you can do it. But if you don't do it, nobody will know that you can do it, okay? Volunteer to lead on popular projects that no one else is willing to take on. Find a way through an issue, like a downturn in business or an underperforming product. Find a way, sell the product, and be a major distributor. And after that, they will tell everybody in that state to look for you. They are no longer ready to have 20 distributors. They just want just you to be the distributor. Okay? You must show that you are willing to stand up and be counted and be accountable. Now, again, here you will find that what you learned about evaluating a situation, making decisions, and solving problems comes in handy. Because if the project is unpopular, if the business is bad, if it is risky, you have to make the evaluation. You have to make a decision, and you have to find what is the solution to the problem. Whether you are doing it alone or you are consulting people, the bulk in this case stops on your table. And that is why the earlier knowledge that you had acquired would come in handy to help you. All right. Now, of course, lastly, I want to advise you to be bold and don't be afraid to fail. It is said that 90% of successful businesses failed before they succeeded. And what you consider to be a failure in one is just experience. You have acquired an experience and you're never going to make that mistake again. And the truth of the matter is that chief executive officers everywhere are under serious pressure. Challenges, obstacles are on their way. All right? So you must learn to confront them. You must learn to act decisively. Okay? Now, this doesn't mean you should do things without careful consideration. No. But it means that you should be ready to move forward with conviction so that you don't stall an organization's progress. If you stall an organization's progress, they will kick you out of the company, even if it has taken you 15 years. And once you leave that company, your 15 years is lost. The next company you go to, you start afresh. But if people know you to be bold and courageous and not afraid to fail, they will give you assignments, you will succeed, and that counts as experience for you. All right. Finally, I would like to give you a simple test. And I think you will have to speak to me. It will take turns. I've displayed for you what it takes to be a CEO. And there are 18 issues I have listed, which is in your handbook when you receive it. I took these issues out of your handbook. I would like you, haven't listened to this lecture, haven't participated in this lecture, to now tell me the issues under characteristics of a CEO on your left-hand side, are they matters of knowledge? Are they matters of skills? Are they matters of skills, disposition, and attitude? You can treat them together. Or are they a combination of any one, two, or three of them? All right. If you are ready, I'd like you to start and let me know when the first person is ready. And then we can just do about 4 or 5 of them, and the class will come to an end. And we'll take our questions and answers.
Yeah, I've seen one hand up. Roland.
Okay. Okay. Number 1. Roland.
Roland. And Christy.
All right.
Christy, that's the class governor. 2 hands up.
Okay, Christy, class governor, Roland. Okay, so I give you, pick anyone you want. Let me not restrain you. Pick anyone you want.
I think there were 2 other hands. Isaac, Green Isaac, your hand.
We have somebody in the class. We also have somebody in the class.
Somebody in the class, okay. Okay, so how do we do it?
Yes, you recognize any person you want. The person will tell us that number 1, bright, well articulated, and well informed is a function of. He will tell us which one and why.
Okay, so we start with Roland. Your hand was the first up. So Roland, go ahead and tell us for number 1.
Yes.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Go on.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you for the presentation. I think for the number 1, bright and well articulated and well informed, I think it's a combination of character and also knowledge development.
Knowledge development, character, yes. Well informed already tells you that it's knowledge. Okay. Now, well articulated, what is it?
Well articulated, it is a skill.
It's a skill. Yes. Because it's a communication skill. That means you're organizing, planning.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Project.
Okay. Then bright, of course. Bright could be in appearance, attitude. It could also be in intelligence. All right. That's a good one. All right. Class captain.
Yeah. Christy, go ahead. Which number for Christy, sir?
Chris, you can give, okay, number 2, or anyone, she can choose. Let's just start. Since we won't do 18 persons, they can pick and choose.
Okay, so Christy, which one are you taking? We have number 2, an inquiring mind. Number 3, exceptionally hardworking. So Chris, you mute yourself and speak. Tell us the number you're addressing.
Okay, good afternoon. It's been a wonderful lecture. It's been a wonderful day. I want to address number 4, honest and ethical.
Okay.
Honesty and ethical.
And ethical, good. Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
So what category will that fall into?
Okay, I am picking that and it falls under attitude.
Attitude, character.
Number 1, yes, attitude, character, because why I am taking honesty and ethical, and why I am talking on this is that as a leader, is one of the biggest and topmost characteristics of a good leader. You have to be honest and very ethical. So you to be honest and ethical, it falls under attitude. Attitude is paramount. Attitude takes you to your altitude. It takes you to the top. And so it falls under attitude. It falls under, you have to be very knowledgeable and skilled too, for you to have attitude.
Thank you very much. Let me emphasize this point, and I like the point you made about honesty and ethical lifestyle and decision making for a leader. Please beginning from this afternoon. Let us learn to be honest with each other. Honesty involving truth, trustworthiness. Be honest with ourselves, be honest with our spouses, be honest with our children, be honest with our government. We are in a very bad situation at the moment. We're in a situation where we, the people, we lie to our government, and the government in turn lies to us. And it is never going to get better unless we change. I will tell you the truth. It may hurt you, it may discredit me, but eventually you will give me my due because you recognize that I was truthful to you. And unless we all begin to be truthful to each other and to ourselves, we are soon going to have a nation where we can't trust our government. Already the challenge is there. The challenge is there. Government tells you that COVID-19 is infectious, and people say, don't mind them, they're using it to make money. That is the highest level of distrust, and it's playing out every day. So I thank you very much for highlighting the issue of honesty. All right, next person.
Thank you very much, sir. There's somebody in the class that wants to speak. So that person has opportunity to speak. And then we also have Uzezi, and I don't know who is Technospark. So let's take the person on ground in the class.
Yes.
Yes, good afternoon, my instructor and all colleagues. I want to take the number 5.
Number
says,
5.
Yes, demonstrates.
I can't hear you.
So I'm taking number 5.
He's taking number 5.
Yes, which states demonstrates a sense of fairness and fair play. And that falls under skills and attitude.
Skills, attitude.
Skills, attitude.
Mm-hmm.
So if for you to be able to demonstrate, you should be skillful enough to give the right demonstration, and also to have a fair play, or to be fair, you have to get the right attitude. With the right attitude, I think fairness will be in place.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. All right, let me give you a secret now. Everything has a knowledge base. Because if you don't know what is fairness, you can't even practice it. Okay? So everything has a knowledge base. Then you move, some have skills, and then others are functions of character, attitude, and dispositions. So you are right to the extent that fairness, the demonstrate here is the doing. And for you to be fair, you must, of course, have a sense of justice. But in addition, you must learn how the process works. Otherwise, you won't know what makes it fair. It is the first, you must have a process, you must have a destination, a process to a destination, okay? And it is when you're able to follow that process to arrive at the destination, then you can say that you have been fair, okay? So the issue of fairness and justice, they are not legalistic. They are not legalistic at all. They are just doing the right thing. That's essentially what is fairness, doing the right thing. So you must know the right thing. Then you must know how to do that right thing. Okay? So thank you very much. So let's take one more person, and let that person, the last person should take number 16.
Okay, there were 2 hands up. Can we take
okay.
Before we round up?
Go ahead, go ahead.
So we will take Mr. Green Isaac, and then we take that person, the owner of a Technospark. I don't know, the name did not show. So Green first, after Green, Technospark. Thank you, Mr. Green, go ahead. Number 16.
Okay, can you, I hope you can hear me now.
I can hear you clearly.
Yes.
All right. Good afternoon, sir, and thank you very much for that beautiful presentation. I've actually learned a couple of things, and I'm happy that I was here today. So I'm going to take on two of this, number 16 and number 17. Acknowledges multiple constituencies and responsibility. Yes. I see that to be a combination of knowledge, skills, and disposition, and a bit of attitude. So all of this encompasses the skill that you need to be able to dissect this sector, where you have knowledge and acknowledgement and multiple people from different backgrounds, and falls within responsibility. And then for number 17, knows where the buck really stops. I think that has to do with skills and disposition, a bit of attitude. Of course, you know, you must be knowledgeable of the issues, but it takes skill and disposition to really stand your ground on this. That's my take, sir.
Okay. All right. Do you remember I talked about traits of public and private character under civic traits of character? You see, it tells you to acknowledge multiple constituencies. That's multiple interests, multiple people, multiple factors and responsibilities. Now, this is beyond you. And your ability to do that, yes, you are right, it's a character issue. Your ability to acknowledge that in this matter, it is not me alone. It is not my community alone. It calls into play here. So yes, in addition to the knowledge, the second most important thing is the character, and then the skills come in. Now, this situation, you find it in many of our communities where we are in small groups and we have decided that the chairman of the local government council will come from this community. Next time it moves to the next community. The member of the House of Assembly will be community A. Next time it will be community C. We do it by rotation, turn by turn. Now, in many communities, it is working, but there are some communities where they say, no, we're the majority. If you don't, this is a democracy, we don't care. So democracy now becomes a tyranny of the majority. Do we appreciate that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the same thing happens in a boardroom. The same thing happens in a boardroom. The same thing happens at the National Assembly. Some people, by virtue of population, can keep all projects to themselves. But because they appreciate that there are other people too in society that must be attended to, okay, the goodness in them, the civic mindedness in them makes them to also take us into consideration. Yes, where the buck really stops. What was the classification for that?
Mr. Green. Mr. Green.
What was the classification for where the buck really stops?
Okay. All right, can 17. You hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, I can.
Okay, 17, I said where the buck really stops, it means that you must be knowledgeable about the issues. You must have disposition and the skill to handle whatever task that you've given everybody, so that people don't usurp your authority.
Thank you. And you don't blame others for the failure. The failure is not necessarily caused by you, but you are the boss. So you take responsibility because the buck stops at your table.
True.
Yeah.
Are we okay? All right. Okay.
Yes. Please, who is Technos Part 3? And then I might not be able to take all the hands. I can take Raphael and take Ngwo Buwene, and we cap it there. Any of those people, can you unmute yourself and speak? Technos Part 3, can you unmute yourself and speak? If you're not there, can we take Raphael?
Hello?
Yes, go
Hello?
on.
Yes,
Go on.
I want to take, I want to take on number 12, act of conviction, which is a very strong belief, an article of faith. So I will take knowledge, skills, and disposition. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Number 12, act of conviction, which is all about belief. So I will take knowledge, skills, and disposition. Then the rest
Okay,
can
thank you, Raf. I hope we have not lost the lecturer. Hello, sir.
Sorry, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, what is the skill? What is the skill in number 12? Knowledge, yes. Attitude, character, disposition, yes. What is the skill that you act on? That you act on your conviction. What is the skill involved there?
Yes, when you are educated and you know all what it involves.
Yes.
Yes. When you are educated and you know all what it involves, you have to believe it.
No, if you are educated, that's knowledge.
Yes.
You know all that is involved. It's knowledge, knowing, knowledge. Okay. Now, conviction, on your conviction, what does conviction involve that makes it skill? That's the question I'm asking. Can anybody answer that?
Does it have to do with persuasion?
What does conviction, what is the skill in conviction?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Anybody can answer that.
Hello?
Anybody?
Who wants to contribute? Yes, Rav, if you have something to say, you go on. Or who wants to contribute to that?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
go on.
Is a previous experience you have in any field of activity?
Another person? Conviction.
Any other person?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. For
Go
conviction,
ahead.
Is political quotient that's played there. We use the political will to convince.
Yeah.
Well, conviction, you know, we talked about persuading and convincing people.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes.
We talked about persuading and convincing people.
Convincing people.
All right. So if you are the one doing the convincing, you need the skills of persuasion. Okay? Now, if you are the one being persuaded, then of course you must also have the other skills of listening. You are able to ask the right question, and it is after you have asked the right questions and gotten the right answers that you made up your mind that, okay, this is the right way to go. Do we get it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay.
Then I will take Nwobowene SCF. SCF. Sorry that I can't pronounce your name well. Can you unmute yourself and speak?
No, you got it right. You got the pronunciation right. Thank you, madam.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
The facilitator has actually addressed my concern. That has to do with the issue of responsibility, you know. So I'm satisfied. I don't have any further comment to make. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
So I think that's we all.
Okay, so let's have questions.
There are still more hands up.
Now let's have questions. Let's take questions.
Okay. So who have questions? Technospark 3, can you ask a question? You are no longer addressing the issues
so you
on the slide. So you can now ask a question. I can see you're unmuted, so go on.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, my distinguished and amiable mother. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now, what I want to say is all we have studied today are very, very important as CEO. But one thing remains is this, and the question I want to ask is this. The people that are already having this position in their different organizations, small or big, why are they far from all this knowledge? Why are they not using it if they know? Why are we having the problem we have? Please. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Sir, there is also a question in the Q&A box. Let me read that, so maybe you can address the two together.
Okay.
Okay, the question is, aside from the basic social development strategy for a CEO, how can a CEO develop strong negotiation techniques to raise financial capital for his or her organization?
Okay, we'll take social development strategy, financial capital.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, sorry, the first lady who asked, do you have her name? Techno.
She didn't mention her name. The Techno, can you mention your name?
She should mention her name.
Her name is Rose.
Rose.
Rose, okay. Okay, Rose. You are in this leadership class. You have I think it's is it 9 months now or thereabout? If all things go well, or a 1-year program. Because you are interested in making things right. You are interested in getting it right. You are interested in improving yourself so that when you are in a leadership position, you are not found wanting. And why are you here? Because the organization that has established the leadership school has seen this same deficiency and problems you are talking about. We have identified it. And that is why we are interested in raising the new crop of leaders. So the system is not working. That is the reality. People who are in those positions don't know what we're teaching you today. Particularly those of them who went to school during the military era. These things we are talking of today are taught in civics or civic education, social studies, history. For over or nearly 29 years, social studies, history and civic education were not taught in schools. Every year, about 1.5 million children left secondary school in Nigeria, not knowing how to live in a society, not knowing how to manage a business, not knowing how to manage a government. And these are the people who are in power. These are the people who are in businesses. And that is why the banks are failing. That is why the government establishments are not making profit when they are supposed to be. Pensions money is used to run administration instead of, what they call it, they say of investment. So you and I are seated here because we want to ensure that by the grace of God, if you get there, if any of you sitting and listening to this lecture get there, because you have spent your time to study this, you will always remember what you studied and you'll be better CEOs, you'll be better managers, you'll be better administrators than a lot of the people that we have there. Forget about the razzmatazz you see around us. Many things are not working, and I'm sure you know they are not working. And they're not working because the people lack the knowledge, they lack the skills, and they don't have the necessary disposition, the attitude or the character to get the job done. I'm not saying it, you are seeing it every day. So that's why we are where we are, and we're only praying and hoping that with each year, there will be more leadership graduates, more leadership schools, so that as our generation fades away and you people begin to take public offices and you're in business, you will do better than some of the people we have in the system today. I don't know if you have, Rose, if you have a follow-up question. I don't know if you're okay with that before I answer the second question.
Yeah, you can go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you. Now, how do you have the skills for social development strategy in order to attract financial capital for your business? That's part of the reason you are in this leadership school and why the leadership school has asked me to talk on this matter. Now I have shown you, for example, that you want to have a development strategy. You need to read about it. Yes, you may not be able to go back to school right now for real, but with the internet and the books in our libraries, you can now read about everything. You can use templates and write for yourself. So your experience will be in developing it yourself. Don't give it to a consultant. Do it yourself. Follow the principles that you will find in your research, okay? And then come up with a document which others can help you proofread, vet, and come with something more, more acceptable. Now, it depends on who you are applying to. If you are applying to the Central Bank of Nigeria, for example, as of today, the Central Bank has a team of certified trainers under this, their SME loan. So those trainers will train you to produce the type of documents that you can use to have Central Bank loan. And those loans are real. I want to confirm to you that those loans are real. I know of ordinary people whom we just help to fill the forms and write business plans. They have small businesses that need to grow. They have got money. So those things are real. Don't take them for granted. So if you really want to raise capital, then maybe we'll talk after this. I can give him the names of some of the CBN certified trainers under whom they can train, learn how to write those business plans, and then you'll be on the path to getting the financial resources you need. That is for the immediate. But on a general note, everybody, the years when they told us in primary school that jack of all trades and master of none, that era is gone. Now you can be an expert in so many things. That is the beauty of the information superhighway. You don't have to, I read law, but I have done lots of things and made more money from other things than going to court. So that's the society in which we live in today.
So that would be appreciated if we get the contact.
Okay, I'll do that with you.
Thank you, sir.
Next question.
Okay, we have a question from the class.
Okay.
Good day, sir. My question is,
good day.
Please, you made mention distrust, and in our society where yes, we have got the skills, we have the knowledge and the intelligence, and everything is there, and we are finding ourselves in a situation of distrust. As aspiring CEOs, how do we remedy this situation of distrust?
Okay. All right, first, please backtrack a bit. This society that I have lived in for nearly 60 years does not have knowledge, does not have skills. And worst of all, there is no character. I'm not abusing my country. That's the reality on ground. So you may have it, and I'm proud of that, but the bulk of us don't, okay? People say they know it, but you'll be surprised the amount of damage they are doing in the different professions. Even the man who used to repair your car doesn't know it, I can tell you that. So it is good that people like you are improving on what you know and the skills you have. So we hope to create more of you. Distrust is not a function. Distrust is not a function alone of knowledge or skill. In fact, distrust, is outside the realm of skill. It's a bit of knowledge, yes, because you must know what it is to be honest. But it is more of character. It is more of character. And like I said, a situation where somebody is telling you that a road has been constructed to your own village, and you know that a road has not been constructed to your village, how do you respond to that? A situation where you are told that a packet of a product in a supermarket is 3,500 naira, and you get to the supermarket and the product is being sold for 5,000 naira. Take it or leave it. So we have done lots of little things that have questioned our integrity and have made people to lose faith in us. That is the truth of the matter. Whether when we were student union leaders, instead of paying some people their bursaries, student union leaders will remove the names of the students who are entitled to the money and will put in fictitious names. How can the other students ever trust you again when you come out of school? Or you run for a public office and you made them a promise, and after 4 years, that promise was not fulfilled, even though they know, rather than the promise being fulfilled, you have built a new mansion in the village and they're seeing it every day. So the distrust is something we all have to work at, and it is not magical, it's not by law. It is by everybody acting and behaving right and moral under private traits. I talked about moral responsibility. We are going to be honest, not because the laws of Nigeria say we should be honest, no, but because we have a moral duty to be honest. Whether you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, or a traditional worshiper, we have a duty, a moral duty to be honest. Now, when we are all honest, nobody, trustworthiness will become a part of our lifestyle. So when you tell me good morning, I don't have to look at my time to know whether to respond good morning or whether it is afternoon, because I trust that your good morning is good morning. If you tell me you are owing me and you tell me you are coming to pay me, I should not be, I should not begin to wonder whether you will come to pay me, because I know that you keep to your word, you will pay me. Okay? I'm sure you know of the recent incident in Echie, the man who bought goods worth 500,000 naira, according to the story, and then asked the seller to come and collect the money. And when the seller got there, he killed him, dumped him in a sockaway. Now, how do you expect the other traders in the market to trust any other person who comes to buy their goods and says, I will pay you, or come to my home to collect the money? So there are too many cracks in the social fabric, and we have to take time to repair them. And that time will be our individual conduct, and then eventually the conduct of leadership, whether private sector leadership or public sector leadership. So they are all work in progress. We have to work at them.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, we still have one more question here.
Oh, you still have one more question. Okay.
Yes.
Good day, sir.
The chat? I can't. Good day, how are you? Where's the chat?
Fine, sir.
Okay, let me see.
So I want to ask a question about taking responsibility in a class or in an organization where the leader is not there. When you try to take the responsibility to make the organization a better one, and you are being seen as an high servant or being mocked or billed, taking myself as a case study, whom is a shy person, noticing you are being mocked, can someone like that be courageous to carry out such tasks when the leader is not there?
Yes, that is a function of education. That's a function of taking action. And that is, again, is your mindset. Okay, how do you respond? What is your attitude to the situation? Now, if you continue to be shy, and even if they are bullying you, bullying comes in many forms. So if you continue to be shy and afraid of bullying, or respond to bullying with fear and withdrawal, then you're never going to be a leader. You will never take charge any day. Okay, so the point about it is the person who is bullying you or the person who is teasing you are people who don't have your knowledge, they don't have your capacity, and then don't have your character to take on public responsibilities in the absence of leadership. They don't have. So the issue then is, are you going to be the one to change their mentality? Are you going to be the one to inform their knowledge? And are you going to be the one to make them behave better? Or you will allow them influence you and push you out of the position? I think you should be the first. You should be the one changing them, making them take your time. That's why your skill of persuasion will then come in. You don't have to quarrel, but you can take your time to explain to that person why it was necessary that you should take charge at that moment. And how the leader having returned, you relinquish. And I can assure you, it's only a matter of time. Next time the leader is leaving the class, even if it is jokingly or seriously, he or she will turn to you and say, please take charge, I'll be back soon.
Thank you very much, sir. There is
Thank
one
you.
question in the Q&A section, and then there is another question in the chat group. On the Q&A. Yeah.
Yes, Q&A, it says, just a moment.
In a situation where you are, is by Patricia Obidi. In a situation where you are the CEO of an organization, but your inputs are mainly acknowledged, but not implemented because there is another CEO behind the scene. What
because there's another what?
Another CEO behind the scene. That is the business owner. What do you and your team do?
No, there can be no, if there is another CEO, then you are not the CEO. There can only be one captain in a ship. Okay. Yes. So there's only one CEO. If the business owner wants to be the CEO, then the business owner is the CEO, you are the manager, the MD, it doesn't matter. Okay? Then you will learn to live as the MD, knowing that your decisions are subject to the CEO owner's approval. But if the person has decided to make you so that this question is important, please, class. It then means that if you are ever requested by a business owner to come and manage a business for that person, you must negotiate the terms of management such that you must know your limit in terms of decision making. Because the worst thing that can happen to you is for you to agree with your business partners on how something should be done, and then your business owner comes and overrules you. Your credibility will be damaged. So you try to negotiate such things when you are negotiating to take charge of a business. In big companies, it will not happen. Once you are the CEO, you are the CEO. It doesn't happen.
Okay, there is another question on the chat. The class governor, I can see your hand is still up. After reading this question, I'll give you opportunity to ask your question. Now, Roland asks, can responsibility of being CEO and the social skills required of a CEO be transferred also to civil service institutions? And how do we hold such person accountable when the system fails?
Okay, well, it can be everything we are learning today can be used across board. In fact, you will notice that we use government as the basis because government is very big. In fact, government actually, in our developing economy today, government is the largest employer of labor. All right, but everything works, is the same principle. Now, but the work for you is harder in the civil service. Now, there was a time when only the best went to the civil service. But today, a lot of people are in the civil service for man, no man, and because I have no other job to do. So we are managing until an oil company will employ us. So you are likely to find resistance. They will ask you whether you're coming, you think this is abroad and the rest of it. But I want to assure you, because I have, as you know, my wife has been in the civil service for many years. Just do your job. Apply these principles we are talking about. Just do everything as if you are a CEO of that your small civil service office. A time will come, even the permanent secretary or the minister will call you directly to give you assignments. outside of the chain of command because they have seen that your boss doesn't even know as much as you do. Okay, so in the civil service, if you are the lower grade, you are likely to suffer what the earlier situation we have described of teasing and bullying and people ignoring you and talking down on you for knowing and doing things too well. But as you rise to top management, as you roll into the class of assistant director, deputy director, and director, those are levels of authority in the civil service from where you can change things. Your department can be a model in the service. And God bless you, you become a permanent secretary. That is it. You can carve your, your name in history, carve a niche for yourself by running your ministry as efficiently as you can, different from the inefficiency in the other side. So it is because people like you will be in the civil service that we hope and pray that the civil service will not collapse. Because the truth is that if the civil service collapses, the society has collapsed. That is the reality. The political leadership cannot work without the civil service.
Thank you very much, sir.
We
will take the class governor, and that will be the last intervention. So, Christy, you have the floor. Hello, unmute yourself and speak.
Okay, thank you very much, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I want to draw your attention back to the question somebody asked, because that was actually my question. How do CEO address the issue of wrong perception? But I want to take you from another dimension. Now, the CEO I want to talk about is the sincere CEO, the hardworking CEO, and the CEO that is doing the right thing, the just and civic CEO. And because you are honest, you are hardworking, you are dedicated, you are being intimidated, you are being ganged up, because we are working in a corrupt and perverse environment. You are being ganged up against, you are being intimidated, you are being carried unnecessary blackmails. How do you succeed in such a perverse and intimidated, corrupt environment? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Now we are talking of a CEO. We are not talking of an ordinary staff. Okay? Okon is the CEO of the organization. Who is going to intimidate her there? Rather, she's the one who will influence the organization. So our prayer is that the CEO is not a dictator. The CEO should be a democrat. So what we are trying to teach you here today is the fact that you are going to have the gang-ups, but you will need your skills of persuasion, coalition building, formation of alliances, formation of coalition alliances, compromises. That is the political quotient. You will need it to run your organization. So if as a CEO, you still have people who are intimidating you, then I'm sorry, you have failed to use what we are talking about today. So you need everything we have taught you today. You need to be an expert. You need to know, you need to learn, practice, and use. So when you find those cabals in your organization, after all, they were there before you. Some of them came with you. 3 of you went off appointment. You alone, you were appointed. If we combine those who support the other 2 candidates for the CEO position, there are more than the number of people who support you. But it is not by election. It is who can make the company profitable. So the owners of the company, the shareholders, voted for you. Now, you must then go back and now form coalition alliances with these other people by convincing them and using all the skills we have taught today to bring them. And of course, if you cannot bring them to work with you, if they're constituting a hindrance to progress, the company rules have ways of dealing with them. Even in the civil service, there are ways of dealing with such scenario. A CEO, a sincere CEO, a true CEO cannot be intimidated. He can't at all.
Thank you very much, sir. A
Thank
true
you.
CEO cannot be intimidated. Please, let's take that home.
Okay.
And then he also said, be bold, don't be afraid to fail.
Yes.
We should also take that home. There are several key statements that the resource person has made during the lecture. And so while you were talking, there were a lot of comments appreciating you and the lecture in the chat.
Yeah.
So I know those who have missed today will regret that they missed. When we get the slides, we will share it with everybody. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate. When you started, you said something about whether the graduation will be online.
Yes.
We don't know yet.
Yeah.
We don't know yet, but hopefully.
We pray the situation will get better.
Yes, we hope so that maybe by October, we will be able to move around so that we can bring everybody together. Thank you very much, sir. Once again.
Thank you. Thank you, class. Thanks for attending.
Everybody who joined. Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
also I think it's your staff that assisted you in facilitating Edemeka.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's the end
All
of
right
it.
then.
Thank you.
Okay. Later, I think we have the recording, I guess.
Yes,
we have the recording.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can share that with me too. All right.
We'll do that, sir.
Thank you. Stay fine and stay safe.
Yes. Thank you. And
bye.
The CBS information, the trainers information, the class are asking.
Yeah. I guess the class governor will take over from here while the resource person and myself can leave the platform.
Yes. Okay.
Class governor to have a discussion. So thank you very much, sir. Bye.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much.
Yes, definitely. I'll send it to the email with the recording. Everything will be on the email. So just check your mail like from Monday. Yeah, it is the record.
Hello, good afternoon.